Okay, so for part 2 of the text and shape animation, I'm just going to show you some other features. So I'm just going to quickly animate some position and rotation on the text. So I'm going to toggle in all of these keyframes here. I'm going to start positioning this over here. Now let's say if I wanted to rotate it. You see that I'm rotating around the axis right here, but what if you wanted to shift this axis or this anchor point to somewhere else? Instead of rotating around there, you wanted to rotate it off of the F portion. So I'm just going to back that up. So the way that I can move this anchor point here, so if I want it rotating around the F, is one of two ways. I can go up here. This is where the anchor point tool is. This is the anchor point tool. Or Y, you can see that there's a Y there for a shortcut on your keyboard. So you click this or press Y on your keyboard, and this allows you to move the anchor point to wherever you want. And now if I go to rotate it, let's cue up a rotation here, and you see that I can rotate it around the F. And there you go. Okay, so I'm going to try to do some transform keyframing animation on the shape layer. So open this up, go to the transform area here. Just closing some things down, open up the transform. Let's toggle position, scale, rotations, toggle all of them. And then I can start changing the scale and changing the position a little bit. So I'm not liking that rotation. I want the thing rotating around its center axis, so I don't want the rotation there. So if I go up here to the anchor point tool, or click this or Y on your keyboard, I'm just going to move that to the center of the star or flower, or whatever this shape is. And then I can start rotating it, and now you can see that I can start making almost like a pinwheel effect. Okay, so I want that pinwheel effect to last longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this. I'm going to move this scrubber way over to the end. And then I'm going to start rotating. I can even go add a 1 or a 2 here just to see what that looks like. And now that should rotate through the entire thing. And that gives you a quick rotation around a center point, like a pinwheel or a windmill effect. Okay, and then the other thing in this lesson I'm going to go over is adjustment layers. So if you right click, you can go new, and you can add an adjustment layer. I'm going to drag this adjustment layer on top of the Friday text and the star shape here. And you can add some interesting things to adjustment layers for different effects. You can even add, color, you can add blurs, you can do different things. So to demo a few things quickly, I'm going to go to Effect. I'm going to go to Color Correction, and I'm going to go down to Hue Saturation. And you see, as I'm moving the hue saturation around, I'm changing the color of the star. So this might be a cool little effect just to show you. So open up the adjustment layer, open up my effects, there's the hue saturation. Toggle here for the channel range. And then I can just go up here and start spinning that around, and you can see that it's added, as I've done that, it's added another keyframe down here. So now suddenly I'm getting some color changes to that animation. And the nice thing about throwing it into an adjustment layer as opposed to directly on the shape layer is you have your adjustment layer here. You can turn that off and you can turn that on. So you can actually label your adjustment layer. So if I right click, I can rename this, call it color animation. And it's in its own layer, so I can turn that off and on as I please. I make another adjustment layer here, and then I'll go up to Effect. I will go to Blur and Sharpen. Gaussian blur is very nice on the rendering time and computing power, but I'm going to try a radial blur here. So open up the effects. There's my radial blur. There's different types you can choose from. I'll just stick with the default. You can toggle all those. The most important thing is the amount. add a mount. And you can see that this takes a while to render out. So I might do this right here. And then go to amount of 0. So there's your blur rendered out. I like to make sure that my layers area is organized, so I'm going to right click, I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call this blur animation. And the reason I like using adjustment layers is, as I said, you can turn them on and off, so you can just go, you can see what your animation looks like there, and you can start making some decisions about what you want to keep, what you don't want to keep. There's the color on. And then there's the blur put back on here. And what I would encourage you to do is go through different effects and try placing different effects on adjustment layers to see what type of animations you can get.